It's 12 o'clock. We have a quorum, and I call this meeting to order. Nobody signed up for public comment, so we're going to go straight into item 3, which is selection of an auditor to conduct a district efficiency audit and authorize the superintendent or his designee to sign an adult engagement letter, an audit engagement letter, not an adult. Again, killing it here, guys. Before we go into a vote, does anybody have a comment they'd like to make?
Yes, thank you, Jared. So I want to share a few thoughts, and if you'll give me a minute to get through all of it, I would appreciate it because it will take me a minute, so sorry that I'm slow. But I want to first start out by saying that I'm frustrated that we're here today. This feels like a process that has been completely rushed, completely emergency. We did not plan for this in any form or fashion, and I feel like that has always been our mode of operation since I've been on the board, is to be reactionary and not plan for the future. And I think we're doing that in our strategic planning group. But I think some of these conversations need to happen a lot earlier because I'll be honest with you, I've re-examined some of my comments from our meeting last week, and a discussion on facilities and academics was on the agenda, and there was a strategic planning update on the agenda, but it was meant for facilities, and it turned into a Vader conversation, which was valid, but there was no time for me, as a person that prepares and researches and gathers information, to know really what I think. And so my comments were a knee-jerk reaction. Now I will say, I still believe that alternate methods of raising funds should and need to be explored. And I still do not want to raise taxes on our community members. With that, I want to share a few facts that I've learned about the Vader process. The general fund did not see Vader money initially. We will be a pass-through for this money for raises for our staff. Currently, we have $3.7 million in the general fund of a $56 million budget minus the $1 million that we use for the insurance claim that we're having to pay because of the storm. I'm not very good at math, but that leaves $2.7 million in our general savings account fund, which, if anyone didn't know, is 18 days of operation costs. That is horrible. Way lower than it needs to be or should be. A proposed increase, another thing I've heard continually, is that a proposed increase in the homestead exemption would be net zero for taxpayers. That's just not true. Homes that are valued at $140,000 or less will pay into the Vader. Homes above $140,000 will see less of a refund. And there are homes that are less than $140,000 in Washington County. I've talked to several realtors about this, and there's quite a big chunk of homes that are less than that amount. Teachers with four or more years of experience are receiving raises through the state equaling $1.936 million. And support staff is getting a raise of $666 annually through the $45 ADA allotment that the state is giving us. And finally, a Vader is technically not permanent, but because the board can go back and change and shift the Vader, lower it, and or eliminate it altogether. But I want to ask a question. We have the autonomy from the state to use 5 pennies that we automatically get from the state without even asking. But we have the autonomy to do with that what we like. And so let's think about that in the context of a Vader. Have we ever discussed, not in my time on the board, of lowering those 5 pennies? No, because it's lost revenue for us. And that's the last thing we need or want. And so to think that a Vader is not permanent is just kind of crazy to me, because whatever we set the tax rate at with the Vader, that will be the tax rate long after I'm gone, long after all of us are gone, because we never want to lower our revenue, which I absolutely understand. So the argument that it is not permanent is technically correct, but in the spirit, it's wrong. And so in spite of all of these points that I made, I cannot with good conscience think that giving Belen Ward, who is a pillar of Brenham ISD, she represents everything that is good, right, and holy about our district. I love her to death. And anybody that's like her, all our secretaries, all our bus drivers, all our janitors, everybody, I cannot think in good conscience that giving Belen Ward and people like her a $666 raise is sufficient. It's not. I'm embarrassed by that. That's not enough. Because she works her butt off and deserves more, and people like her deserve more. Our support staff deserve a living wage. And secondly, this board is made up of 7 people, and I believe that it is our job that the community should decide and be given the opportunity to voice their opinions. If the Vader does not pass, then if the audit does not pass, then the community is not heard, because there's no vote. And who am I to decide as one person that the voters do not deserve a voice? This way the community can be heard through the election, and they get to decide, not us. They do. And so if it passes, great. If it fails, fine. Then we have to figure out something else out. With all those thoughts in mind, I will be supporting the Vader audit, however reluctant. And I appreciate the conversation, but I wanted to express my frustration, because I feel like this is very immediate, and all of a sudden we were in this meeting last Wednesday, and I'm not blaming you, Justin, because it was a good question, but if you had not asked the question about the step raises and getting the higher percentages, we would not be here today. And I was not ready for this conversation, and I left here very frustrated. Kyle left here very frustrated, because we felt like this was just sprung on us. And not once has the Strategic Planning Committee ever discussed the process of what a Vader would mean. We've discussed everything from land for a new junior high and high school, to broadly a Vader, to our cafeteria workers, to the ecosystem of a school district, to all of those things. But never once did we discuss the actual process and needing to pay money, to spend money on an audit, that we need to actually do this. And so my frustration is that this feels like a bait and switch. It feels like 2 years ago, the reason I ran for the board was because we did such a bad job with the bond. and everything, in my opinion, was hidden. And that's why it failed twice. And there was so much misinformation, and it sounds like and feels like we're going down the same path again. And I just wanted to express my extreme frustration and know that Mr. Hafner, who's not here today, has given me permission to say that he co-signs to that same frustration, because this feels like a complete bait and switch. And the last thing I want to do is not give our people money that they deserve. But the planning and forethought on this was atrocious, horrible, and we need to do better. But I am proud to give Boleyn more than $666. That's the bottom line. And I want everyone to know that this was an extremely tough decision for me. I've been vacillating on this for days because I want to take care of the humans, but we've been so irresponsible with our money in the past that has set us up now to make this really crappy decision, in my opinion. And Kyle differs than me, but as you can see, I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about this because I don't even want to be here voting on this. I don't, because we should have done better before this. And now we're in this situation where we have to ask people for more money. And I'm just not cool with that. I know some of you might disagree, but I'm not cool with that. But the bottom line is, I want to take care of our people. They deserve it. And this is a crappy way to do it. And I'm just frustrated as all get out. And I am so sorry for coming across maybe unprofessional or whatever it might be. I'm just so frustrated and so passionate about our people. I just don't want to be in this situation. And somebody said to me, Archer, grow up, because this is the situation we're in, and you've got to deal with it, and you've got to make a choice. And I did. I didn't get any sleep last night because I was thinking about this vote, because I really don't want to do it. But I walk in the high school and I see Boleyn Ward and the joy that she brings me, and she tells me that she makes $19,000 a year. And we're giving her a $666 raise. That is unacceptable. And so I'll be voting for it. And again, I apologize. I just care so deeply about this. And this was probably the most difficult decision for me that I've had to make on this board. And I chose to put the people first. And so now I'll shut up. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. Thank you for your honesty. I mean, Archer, this is a difficult decision for all of us. I think we all are looking for ways to put our teachers and our support staff first. And I don't know what else we can do at this point. I know I had a conversation with our local senator shortly after I was reelected, and the push she gave me was to go after the golden pennies for the district, that was the one way that we would be able to get more money in our district. So I think this is something that a lot more districts are going to start going for. We're going to start seeing a lot more people, because frankly, there's no other way to get it right now. I do like that I agree with you that we need to look for alternative ways of fundraising, because we got to get creative, and we've been like that for a while. And Archer, keep fighting, man. I mean, that's why we're here. We care about everybody, and we want what's best, especially for our staff and our teachers. I mean, I get your passion, man, so you don't need to apologize for being passionate, okay?
Thank you.
I wasn't here last meeting. I had to leave, go back to work. But just want to confirm that this debate is, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to help get staff a higher salary. Is that correct?
All you're voting on today is to conduct an efficiency audit
But the end goal is to get the staff
that allows you, if you so choose to, You'll have a recommendation from the Strategic Planning Committee. It's only a recommendation. It's a school board decision.
Okay.
You'll have the decision in August to decide whether or not you want to put a Vader on the November election.
Okay.
This audit simply gives you the option to do it. So to Archer's point,
Well,
you're not making the decision, but you're giving the voters a chance to.
Very good. So my next question, when's the last time the employees got a raise? Going on 3 years. 3 years. Coming
Yeah.
up this year.
Yeah, 3 years.
That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. This is unacceptable. I'm kind of curious on where you got the figure of $600 for Ms. Ward.
Because I divided it by the ADA payment that we're getting
Okay.
for the allotment, because there's a $45 allotment, correct me if I'm wrong, Clay or Daryl, there's an allotment that we're getting from the state for support staff that's $45 per ADA.
Okay.
And then if you divide that by our enrollment or our ADA, I came up with that $666 number.
Daryl, is that an accurate number? Okay. If you can follow with Archie and I on that, please, because I like to know that, and I agree with you, that's not enough.
Right.
But if we move forward on this, some of us, and I'll say me, been talking about this for 3 years, maybe 4. It needs to happen. Cost of living is going up. People are leaving daily. We need to do this. Sometimes you take a risk. Sometimes you got to take a risk in life to get where you need to go.
I understand. I'm gonna vote for it. I'm with you. I'm just frustrated.
I get frustrated every day because these teachers, the employees not getting paid. I get frustrated
I
every
get
day.
it.
So I think this is a great idea. I think with the staff we have in the school district, they're very creative. I think they can make it happen. And I'm 100% to go forward. So that's my 2 cents on that. I wanted some clarity on that because I was not here when y'all went over it.
Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, a couple of quick comments. Archer, I do agree this has moved very fast. Sean and I are both new to the board, just been on here for a few meetings now. It has moved fast, but I do also believe that based off the strategic planning committee, that the emphasis from the room at the last meeting was to put our focus on the people, because we're losing so many teachers, because we have still 20 plus openings for this next school year. So I mean, the anticipation of starting the school year with substitute teachers is gonna inhibit the product that comes out of Brenham ISD.
Absolutely, I agree.
And so, the board or the central office staff sent us some information. Starting salary for a brand new teacher for Brenham ISD is $50,000. That's behind the curve. We're behind all of our neighboring communities, and so we have to be able to have options available to entice teachers to come to Brenham. For teachers to desire to come to Brenham ISD instead of going to Hempstead or Waller or Navasota or College Station. We've got to be able to entice teachers to come. I guarantee you they're not coming for our facilities. So we got to have other options for those teachers to come to Brenham ISD, for those teachers to want to teach in Brenham ISD. So we have a great community. I'm extremely proud of our community, the way our community has stepped up to support everyone throughout the last several years. Our community does amazing things behind the scenes, fundraising through the Ed Foundation and other things like that. Yes, let's still continue to be creative, but I'm fully in support of giving the voters this option and going through this process to give the voters the option to make the final call for this. So I understand $15,000. It's a painful number it's a painful, spending any money these days that wasn't budgeted originally is painful. But again, this is, in my opinion, this is an investment for the future of Brenham ISD, and we just need to see what options are there.
I just want
Go
to say
ahead.
one thing. I know that it feels fast, but to be completely fair, it's felt fast since me and my team have stepped into this. It hasn't slowed down, not one single day. When we stepped in, we cut expenses just as hard and fast as we could go, which included 50 professional positions in every budget that we could cut. We cut. Now we're saying we've cut unless you want even more students in each classroom, which is not what I've heard. In fact, I've heard the opposite over and over and over again. Again, that's where you make your cuts with a school budget. We've cut. We feel like as deep as we can cut. If you want to now look at the other side of the coin and increasing revenue, then these are your options. You can look at the capital improvement bond, which we've discussed, which will relieve your M&O budget some. You can also look at increasing the M&O revenue. So again, we're not deciding to do either one of those
Right.
things today. We're just saying, hey, voters, these are your options, and I appreciate the board being willing to give the voter a chance to say yes or no to that.
Right, and so I wanna kind of reiterate 3 things, if I may. Again, and I know everyone knows this, but I'm saying this more for the public, I guess. We have $3.7 million left in the general fund, and then you subtract the $1 million deductible that we're having to pay because of the storm. That happens. That's a surprise. That's an emergency. I get it. I'm good with that. We have $2.7 million left in our savings account. That's 18 days of operations. I'm going to say it again. 18 days of operations. What happens when the next emergency happens? Then we don't have anything. We're done. The game's over. It's done. That's just frustrating. And the second thing I want to say is, what I mean by this feels rushed is we have had a strategic planning meeting. We have gotten that going. But I would have liked to see a discussion in an evening board meeting 4 or 5 months ago about a Vader, whether Justin or Sean or whoever is here. We need to have that discussion 4 or 5, 6 months ago, and it needed to not be in a freaking noon meeting when 5 people are here. How is that okay? I'm sorry for cussing. I'm just getting, and I'm not frustrated at you guys. I'm just frustrated. We should have done better on this. And bottom line is, I'm not against this audit. I'm not. Because I want to pay our people more, and they deserve it. But I'm just so frustrated with this whole entire process. We should have done better.
I agree with you on some of that, but we are at a point now, it is what it is.
Exactly.
And we need to communicate with the people, and I know that not everybody gets to be on the strategic planning committee. I get that. It's very important for us to let everybody know what we're doing is trying our best to get everything that we need for our kids and our teachers. And it's a shame we have to do it so quickly. Maybe at the same time, like Raven said, sometimes you have to take a chance. But the other thing is, we care about our kids, we care about our teachers, we care about our community, and we have to let them know that, and then we have to get them to trust us to make things happen. But one thing we want to do is make sure that we understand what we're talking about and that everybody understands what we're trying to do. And so we need to do a better job of that, I guess. And you know, time marches on. We aren't getting any better. And the other day when I looked at that list of all of the things that we need to fix in Brenham here, we need to look at that and we need to make the best decisions we can make. And we need everybody else to know that, including our people. We want all of our people, not just the teachers and the paraprofessionals, but all the other people who are part of our community of Brenham ISD, that they know what's going on too, and that they understand we care about them as well. So this is one of these things where it's a bad situation, but we can make it better. But we got to work together.
Bonnie, I agree wholeheartedly. I guess my number one point is I would be way more on board with this if we had discussed it 6 months ago.
Archer, can I speak to that? I got a question.
Absolutely.
Did HB2 change the way that we would look at this Vader opportunity? If HB2 had come through a lot differently, which we had all hoped for, that may have changed the whole game plan. So even if we talked about, and I agree with you, due diligence, man. I love it, and the passion. You know how I feel about you, man, and the passion and way we're going about this, because we want to take care of our community. But even if we talked about it 4 or 5 months ago, when HB2 came down, we had no idea what was going to happen with the government funding. And so if they'd come through and actually done something that was substantial, we wouldn't even probably have to talk about elevator at this point. And so I think that the fact it shows that we weren't talking about it 5-6 months ago is the fact that, well, hey, we were hoping we wouldn't have to do that because we really had hope in the state on that. And so now that we're here at this point, yeah, I can understand it feeling rushed. I get that, but our hands are tied on it as far as going forward. But I believe the conversation would have changed dramatically, even from the conversation 4 months ago, because of what's come out with HB2.
And you're not necessarily wrong, but I will rebut you minorly, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just rebutting a little bit by saying Clay said 2 meetings ago, as we're launching the Strategic Planning Committee, that hope is not a strategy. So all I'm asking for is the conversation to have occurred. Because now we look, in my opinion, to the community that we didn't plan because now we have our pants down. That's all I'm asking for is the proactive planning. And you're right, we were waiting on the legislature because unfortunately we are beholden to them. That's one thing about this job I hate, is we really have no control. It's the illusion of local control. It really is. We have some control, but there's very little. And so I don't necessarily disagree. You're correct. We're waiting on the legislature. But, again, hope is not a strategy, and proactive planning always wins. And that's my bottom line point, and I think if Mr. Hafner was here, that was his bottom line point to me as well, is we've just got to do better to plan. And we did this. You guys don't know this, but Bonnie remembers, Jared remembers, in my opinion, when we were talking about the Brenham ISD Police Department, that whole entire conversation, in my opinion, was rushed. Because Dr. Chaplin, God rest his soul, wanted to do something that I didn't have all the information on. And then we were rushed into voting on things that I didn't feel comfortable voting on. And quite frankly, as a board member, I'm just tired of that. And I know you guys weren't here, so you don't know. But because I'm a person that plans. I'm not like Kyle. I don't think on my feet. I planned all of this out today. I did my homework. I did my research. And Clay knows that, Jared knows that, Bonnie knows that, Kelvin knows that I work and I plan. And it's just frustrating to come into these board meetings over and over and over again and say, oh no, we have to vote on this thing now. It wasn't discussed in the last board meeting until an hour and 45 minutes in the meeting when Ms. Trahan stands up and says, oh, we got to spend $15,000 on XYZ. What? I even looked at Jared's face and he looked surprised because we were all surprised. And that's just my number one problem, is that I'm tired of being surprised. That's it. I'm done. Sorry.
Again, Archer, I think the points you're making are valid. I'm agree with everybody else here. So, I mean, I do know that the staff and everybody's going to appreciate the support, but those decisions, when they're pushed quick, sometimes they catch us off guard. But I think in this situation, I think it's something that, because of what HB2 did, and because we have an election coming up in November, and because the time frame is so short, I don't think we had a choice, because we need to get some relief for other things. So I think maybe that is kind of why it feels a little rushed, because we're trying to do it as fast as we can to make sure we support our staff.
And I agree with that intention. I guess my disagreement, if that's the word, I don't even know if that's the right word. And so I'm done repeating myself. I'm gonna vote for this because I want to support our people. That's very important to me. But I just wanted to express my passion, my frustration, and my love for all our people in our district because I think they deserve it.
Thank you, Archer. Okay, so I think, what is the will of the board on this, selecting an auditor to conduct a district efficiency audit?
I make a motion to select Patillo, Brown, and Hill LLP to conduct a district efficiency audit and authorize the superintendent or his designee to sign an audit engagement letter as presented.
Second.
Okay, Bonnie Brinkmeyer made a motion, seconded by Kelvin Raven, to select Patillo, Brown, Hill, and LLP to conduct a district efficiency audit and authorize the superintendent or his designee to sign an audit engagement letter as presented. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries 6-0. Thanks, guys. With no more business before the board, at 12:31, we will adjourn.